Very isolated. For the vast majority, it's a dry and bright end to the day. And look at the temperatures. This is at 6 p.m. 29 Celsius still there for Birmingham. Widely the mid to high 20s clinging on into the evening. And even after the sun goes down, despite the clear skies, we're going to see that warm air stay with us, and as a result it's going to be an uncomfortable night for sleeping. Some patchy cloud here and there, and again a few showers potentially towards the southwest, but for the vast majority it is a clear and dry night, and temperatures in one or two spots, for example Cardiff, not dropping below 20 Celsius. That gets us off to a very warm start to Saturday. It's not going to be entirely sunny. There will be areas of cloud in the west, a humid feel in the west. Plenty of sunshine further east, though, and with that sunshine, temperatures reaching the 32 to 34 range. And elsewhere, as those temperatures rise, the risk of some severe thunderstorms developing.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In North Lincolnshire, roadworks closed the eastbound entry slip at junction 4 of the M180. In Knowsley, barrier repairs closed lanes on the M62 westbound exit slip at junction 6. Derbyshire drivers on the M1 northbound between junctions 24 and 25 face roadworks, with 3 lanes shut. Worcestershire's M42 northbound entry slip at its M5 south connection is fully closed. Hertfordshire's M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 17 and 16 has 3 lanes shut. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show we have Charlotte Griffiths. She's going head-to-head with former Labour MP Stephen Pound. We've got entrepreneur and children's charity fundraiser Billy Gunn and comedian and comedy impressionist Danny Posthill. But first, let's go to the news.
Very good evening to you. The top story tonight at 7, history made today. That is how campaigners have reacted as MPs narrowly backed a landmark-assisted dying law for England and Wales. The bill allowing terminally ill adults to end their lives with medical sign-off passed in the Commons earlier today by just 23 votes.
The ayes to the right, 314. The noes to the left, 291.
Cheers, tears and hugs filled Westminster as supporters called it a victory today for compassion.
We won!
One MP described the current law as forcing people to die in secret or die abroad. But critics warn the new law could be a dangerous step, they say rushed through without proper safeguards and driven by emotion over evidence. The bill now heads to the House of Lords, with any change unlikely before 2029. Breaking tonight, the Home Secretary has confirmed that she will ban Palestine action after the group's members targeted 2 military planes at RAF Brize Norton. Footage posted online showed the activists inside the base, one riding a scooter and appearing to spray paint into the jet engines. Yvette Cooper is set to prescribe the group under the Terrorism Act, making it a criminal offence to support them. The move follows a counter-terror investigation into the incident. Parliament, though, will need to approve the ban before it comes into force. Well, earlier today, our Home and Security editor Mark White was outside the Ministry of Defence with an update.
Palestine actions say the reason they breached security at Brize Norton and damaged the aircraft is because they claim those aircraft were being used in support of the Israeli military, something officials here at the MOD have said is absolute nonsense. Now, these engines are going to have to be stripped and cleaned out. It's likely to be a costly exercise, and there's also a review of how security was breached in such a way that these activists were able to get airside and cause such damage in the first place.
Mark White there for us earlier today. Well, the UK is pulling staff from its embassy in Iran as a precaution amid fears the Israel-Iran conflict could escalate still further. It follows fresh Iranian strikes on Israel this afternoon, while Israel confirmed it hit missile manufacturing sites in Tehran overnight. The UK, France and Germany have met Iran's foreign minister in Geneva earlier today in an urgent bid to de-escalate. It also comes as Donald Trump is expected to decide within just 2 weeks whether the United States will take any direct military action. R&B star Chris Brown has pleaded not guilty to trying to cause grievous bodily harm after an alleged bottle attack at a London nightclub. He appeared at Southwark Crown Court this morning to enter his plea. The US singer was granted conditional bail last month and allowed to continue his international tour, but only after putting down a £5 million security to guarantee his return to court. That money could be forfeited if he breaches any of his bail conditions. The Princess of Wales has praised the life-changing work of the UK's children's hospices, calling them a lifeline for families facing the unimaginable. Catherine's message was shared just days after she pulled out of Royal Ascot, as she continued to balance her return to public life following cancer treatment. Kate, who's royal patron of 2 hospices, said no parent ever expects to hear that their child has a life-shortening condition. But hospice care means they don't face the future alone. Her words come ahead of the end of Children's Hospice Week this weekend. And we'll end by taking you live to scenes in Hawaii where jets of lava more than 1,000 feet high have erupted from the Kilauea volcano on the island, one of its most explosive episodes this year. Take a look at these remarkable pictures as the eruption continues to intensify into the evening, with fountains lighting up the sky and triggering increased seismic activity. There's also been a volcanic plume rising 15,000 feet into the air, carrying glass-like shards and ash that could spread downwind into the island. Lava, though, remains contained into the summit crater, for now at least, but experts are warning there could be potential hazards ahead. It's Kilauea's 26th lava episode since just December, making it one of the most active volcanoes in the world. That's the latest from me for now. I'll be back with you in an hour. Now, though, we can get back to Lee.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and joining me today on the show we've got the Editor-at-Large of the Mail on Sunday. That's the very ever youthful, very beautiful Charlotte Griffiths, and the fossil of politics. He's back, he's left in the corner. That's Stephen Pound. Mind you, he's looking very, very brown. Have you been in the allotment, Stephen?
Oh, I have. It's a very busy time on the allotment. My parsnips are just finally breaking the soil and emerging into
We don't want to know about your parsnips.
Well, mate, you should see my marrows. I've just actually plucked my first marrows.
It's the carry-on humour coming out again with Stephen Powell. But look, serious business. Grooming gangs again have been in the news this week, guys. We've seen the KC report. Big, thick wedge, actually. I'm only halfway through it. But the big question is this national inquiry, is it going to be another cover-up, Stephen?
I don't think so. I mean, I know Louise Casey, and I remember when she did the Rough Sleepers investigation about 20-odd years ago. You know, she takes no prisoners. But look, the key thing here about this is we've had the Alexis J report, which, as you know, was for about 5 years, had 22 recommendations in the previous government, none of which were actually implemented. What Louise Casey has done in 2 areas is completely groundbreaking. Firstly, she's actually said that there are occasions when some of the abusers are actually people who are asylum seekers. That's never been said before. The second important thing is that when she started this report, she said, I don't see any need for a national inquiry. The more she saw, the more she had to read, and the more she heard from the victims, she changed her mind. And that's why I think Keir Starmer and now most people are saying there has to be the national inquiry, but there have to be prosecutions. Somebody, somewhere, is going to have to pay for this.
Charlotte.
I agree that she's basically a ball breaker, and I think she'll really get to grips with it. But you know, I do think 3 years is possibly a bit too long. She could have made it 2 years. I never underestimate the government's capacity for a cover-up, to be honest. This is my worry. The fact she's involved does instill confidence in me, I have to say.
Stephen, I look at politics on a national and local level, and I think there's some current councillors up to their necks in it. I'll put it to you again. Do you think they might cover it up?
I don't think they will. I think people will try. But Lee, here's an important thing. You weren't in the House with Anne Cryer. Anne Cryer was the Labour MP for Keighley. She raised this issue nearly 20 years ago, and she got excoriated for it. People are abusing her and calling her racist. Sarah Champion in Rotherham, the same thing. She got abused left, right and centre. We owe an apology to those people who blew the whistle, and we owe some jail time to those people who let down those vulnerable girls.
Well, I agree with that, Stephen. But Charlotte, we see I was in the statement, Yvette Cooper's statement earlier this week, and I asked the Yvette Cooper a question. I thought it was a reasonable question. I want Maggie Oliver to be chairing this inquiry. But it was interesting that the Labour MPs kept getting up and saying, I welcome this inquiry. These are the same Labour MPs that voted against an inquiry.
I know, the hypocrisy is staggering, isn't it? But I think that's the thing. I think this Casey report has stunned them all. I think what you were saying about the asylum seekers is right. In terms of a cover-up, I think they might cover up that, because what does it say? It says that multiculturalism has failed. And you know, that's something they just cannot admit to. It's just a really difficult thing for the Labour Party to admit to. And yet there it all was in black and white, and they had no choice but to just sort of own up to it.
Yeah, it opens a broader debate, Stephen, this does. Multiculturalism, has it failed in this country?
Well, obviously it hasn't failed. I mean, there's no question. Yeah, we live in a multicultural society, and 99% of us rub along with our neighbours perfectly well and perfectly happily. There are a few people who actually bring the whole thing into disrepute, and they should be called out. The real embarrassment here is those people that are sort of cringing, loosely scoffing liberals who actually feel that they've got to actually excuse absolutely everything, that they say that multiculturalism is the get-out-of-jail-free card and everything. Yeah. Let's be realistic and let's be grown up. We get on with our neighbours, regardless of their faith, their ethnicity or anything, in by and large. But a couple of people, let's not make excuses and let's not cover them up.
Well, there are 50 different towns here, 50. And nearly all the girls are white. So that doesn't instill confidence in multiculturalism to me.
At all, is it?
You know, and it kind of shows a disdain for white girls. So I just think that doesn't make
sense. And let's not
sense.
forget the great work that Charlie Peters did on this, for GB News. If it wasn't for him, we would not be having this conversation now. But why couldn't the authorities have done that?
I think they couldn't face up to it, and it's so instilled in our culture now to just turn a blind eye to anything that's uncomfortable, and anything that can be deemed far right. But that's just been incredibly embarrassing now in the light of things.
Yeah, but Lee, the Alexis J report actually, as I said, made 22 recommendations, and that came in back in the late 20s. Not a single one of those was implemented. They should have been implemented because that includes a pulling together of all the local. Don't forget, Rochdale had their inquiry. Rotherham.
I agree with that, Stephen. I agree with that.
Got to be pulled together.
This report, it was given to the Home Secretary and the PM 10 days before she made a statement in the House on Monday morning, just gone. Just enough time for Sir Keir Starmer to slip off to Canada and hide behind an edge.
Come on, Lee, don't be...
Listen, 10 days to read a report. Yeah. That's ridiculous, Steve. I mean, I've read half of it. It took me about a couple of hours to digest it.
He's having to come to the G7 to try to negotiate a trade deal which would actually make a vast difference to every man, woman and child in this country. I'm sorry, he read the report, but then he had to have it read also by Yvette Cooper, and also to actually go... I have to say, from what I hear, a lot he looked at and he said, is this really the case? And he actually wanted some double sourcing.
Was it just convenient for him to go to Canada?
Of course it's not.
And drop
the G7 report years ago.
The thing is, Casey's gone around doing a press sort of tour this week, hasn't she? Saying that she feels rage for these victims. So actually, while he was out of the country, she was doing a really good job of holding him to account. Yeah. And I expect that if we do find there's been a cover-up, she will do all those rounds again, and she'll go around saying, look, I'm on the side of the victims. The victims have confidence in her, which I think is really, really important. And they do think that there might be some measures that are implemented before the end of the report in 3 years. I think it's great that it's not going to go on indefinitely, but they need to take action as soon as possible.
Would it give the victims more encouragement, Stephen, if Maggie Oliver was chairing this inquiry?
Who knows? I mean, let's ask the victims. The voice of the victims has not been heard often enough, in my opinion. I'd actually ask them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the victims, we see them now coming out, and I actually met some... I've met one of the victims at the rally we did in Chester, and the story she told, and there was a father of one of the victims as well who went looking for his daughter when she'd been kidnapped, and he got arrested. I mean, these police should go to prison.
I think a lot of these girls got arrested as well for loitering and all sorts of things. And Casey's very much into the idea of reviewing all of those criminal.
Well, don't forget, one of the things in the Casey report, and I have to say, it makes very, very uncomfortable reading. When a police officer says that a 10-year-old girl is sexually promiscuous, and that somehow excuses it.
And then we hear some of the people on the left of politics, they say, well, there's far more white grooming gangs than there is Pakistan. Yeah, that's maybe true because, the white population is much higher in the country than men of Pakistani heritage. But the thing is, Stephen, is the cover-up.
Yeah. Well, no, Lee, I don't want to disagree with you. I don't think it's even the cover-up. I think it's the ignoring.
Well, it is. That is a cover-up.
Yeah. Well, OK, but the fact is, when you've got a young girl goes to the police station and says what's happening to her, and the police officer says, oh, come on, you've had too much to drink, love, off you go. Yeah. I'm sorry, that is culpable. And that police officer should be actually given the tin tack there and then. Yeah. But there's so many of these people who've got away with it for years. And if anything comes out of Casey report, I think we're going to have to actually pin that on them because this must never happen again. Lee, it may be happening today.
It is happening today, Steve.
Well, if it is happening today, what the hell are we doing about it?
Well, that's the thing. It's all taking... Even 3 years is too long, I think, because they've got to take action now, immediately. It's like the boats. It's like, you don't just talk about it.
So why the hell didn't the government implement the J report? Why on earth did they sit on it? Why did they ignore that? The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, the previous government, not your people, not my people, they sat on it and did nothing.
But why is it, Charlotte, that in these areas, I'll say it again, the Labour areas, got Labour MPs, Labour councils, they have been very reluctant to speak about it. We had one of the Labour MPs in Parliament this week, Sean Davis, not here to defend himself, by the way, but I think he actually turned down the chance to have an inquiry into child grooming gangs in his town, and then is bleating on in Parliament to say that he wanted one.
But that was so embarrassing.
As you know, he was then overruled by Jim McMahon, and they did have an inquiry in Rochdale. However, it was a limited inquiry, and it did not have powers to compel people to give evidence. That's the difference. What the Alexis J report said, that government should have the power to actually compel people to give evidence, to actually shine the light on them. they've been hiding in the dark for too long.
Also, in the previous reports, all the data was mixed up. So yes, there were white people who were involved, but they weren't organised grooming gangs. That was different types of abuse. Still very bad, but different kind of abuse. So, and then obviously so much of the data hasn't been recorded about their ethnicity. And back to your earlier point, I mean, this has been widely reported, but the sad fact is, in the Labour areas, they don't want to lose the Muslim vote, and you know, there is a strong link between.
And that is the point, Stephen. That is the point. A lot of these MPs, Labour MPs, they're frightened to death of losing that vote, that Muslim vote.
Lee, how many Muslim MPs have actually won their seats against Labour? Yeah, Labour has no longer got the Muslim vote, mate. Don't try to fool yourself about that. Honestly, to think that we're going to bend over to try to get back after Palestine, after all those issues, forget it.
Final word, Charlotte.
I just think this is a very unedifying and embarrassing moment all round, and action needs to be taken immediately.
This, Stephen, guys, has been a dark stain on our country.
Absolutely.
And there's countries around the world looking at us at the moment and thinking, what the hell are you playing at in that supposedly great country of yours? We need to sort it out. And I said it when Robbie Moore did a German debate on grooming gangs in Keighley, where he represented the Tory MP. Councillors, MPs, social services, police, anybody involved in the cover-up should be locked up and sent to jail. But coming up next, we've got entrepreneur and children's fundraiser, Billy Gunn.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You have a very nice accent, and I always thought but obviously I'm totally wrong. I've learned something already straight away.
I mean, we've interviewed together on countless occasions. I thought you would have picked up on my English accent.
Oh no, you're just changing it now. You're changing it a bit here.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on for you, mate.
Well, I'll tell you this, Chesney. I think it's amazing that we're talking about a tour next March for a man like you, and that shows you the extent to which you have to be organised to do these things. I thought, like, you're advertising this for this month or next month. Why the need to go so early?
Oh no, it's just to give people plenty of advance notice. You know, these days life comes up very fast, doesn't it? So I'm always touring, Eamon. I've actually got some headline shows coming up next week. I'm in Cardiff and Southampton, but we've just announced this headline tour for next year. So I thought I'd get it out there and let people know in advance. You know.
And Chesney, just looking at your Instagram now, I mean, you've got a sense of humour, haven't you? Because you've been putting videos out there saying people think I'm a one-hit wonder, but let me tell you, there'll be a lot more songs than just the one that you're most famous for.
Yes. Contrary to popular belief, there are other songs. So looking forward, I've got a new album out right now, Ellie, and it's all been very, very well received. I'm so honoured and grateful for that. And so, yeah, I'll be performing some of this new album out on the road soon. You guys should come.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Lee Anderson's Real World. It's time for real people from the real world. I've got Billy Gunn on my show, entrepreneur, eating engineer, father, family man, general nice guy. But last time we was on the show, I think it's a few months back now, you was talking about your business, about your wealth creation and all that sort of stuff. But this time you want to talk about your daughters, Dusty and Florrie, because you're doing a bit of fundraising now, aren't you? For children's charities. Tell me about that, Billy.
So my daughter Dusty's 20 months old. At birth we was unaware of everything. It's been a bit of a slow progress. Within the last 5 months we found out that she's got a rare genetic disorder which affects 1 in 17 million children. So the odds are either against us or with us. As far as we know at present, there's no treatment, there's no cure, and progressively over time, it will mean she's going to have a lot shorter lifespan than what.
So what is the disorder?
So the disorder is called PDHA1, and what that is her body cannot digest energy as myself and you. So obviously she's tube fed, which has only just recently been happened. We've had the months of struggling as parents who would understand, obviously children who can't swallow. She's got brain injury, what comes with it. So with the brain injury comes with affected swallow, limited movement throughout her body. But being a genetic disorder, there can't be no change. It's the general makeup of her body. So we haven't got any replacement. We can't give her medicine to change. It is general, the anatomy of the body.
How does that feel then, Billy, as a parent when you first told that news?
It's a shock because you're not prepared for that. Anyone will know having a child's fantastic, which is all good. Obviously, I've got plenty of children myself, a young boy, Billy, and a daughter is Florrie. No issues, perfectly good children. Obviously, when we're born with Dusty, to the eye, she looks fantastic. But unfortunately, what's on the inside is what's going to sort of decrease her life
So you say
expectancy.
1 in 17 million. So I suspect there's probably only another couple in the country with the same condition.
At the moment, we've only found 2 people within the UK. We haven't verbally spoke to them or made contact. We've only just been told by statistics there's 2 people within the UK who have this genetic disorder.
So what does the future hold for Dusty?
At the moment, you've just got to sort of bring her hope and joy and happiness and laughter. Give her the best we can physically give her. Yeah. She can't unfortunately do a lot. She's disabled. She's limited movement. She's in a chair at the moment, which obviously will then pass on to a wheelchair. So it's a big effect on our life personally because you can't predict what the future's going to hold. But Dusty's life, really, we've just got to see how it goes.
What about Dusty's brother and sister? How do they cope with it?
If I'm honest, they're fantastic carers. It's something that's opened our eyes. Unfortunately, if you're not within the disability lifestyle, you're unaware. I was one of them. Yeah. We had 2 perfectly brilliant children, boy and girl. Some people say that's a sort of dream family. We obviously had our 3rd child, and then long and behold, obviously we've got a daughter with disability. It's opened our eyes dramatically, and both for my kids as well, it's opened theirs. But on a positive, it's let them know that disability is out there. You do come complacent, you don't look at it, you don't see it, you become part of your own bubble. But when you're in that circle, it's quite a nice circle to be in because there's a lot of people to communicate and speak with, and it actually builds a bit of a friendship with other people. It's a talking topic. It's a different
community, isn't it?
It's a different community, and you understand what other parents are going through. Yeah. Each to their own, because everyone has different disabilities, have different levels. I can't say that our daughter's any different to anyone else with PDHA1, which obviously is a genetic disorder. But she laughs and giggles every day. That's enough for us to get through. Yeah. And I'm assuming that'd be enough to make.
And what about the fundraising? What fundraising are you doing now?
So we're doing a charity walk, which is obviously next week, to raise some money towards Dusty's specialist equipment. But we've also got a charity specifically for Dusty, Tree of Hope, and we're going to.
Tree of Hope. Where are they based?
They're a national charity based online. They do have obviously.
I think we'll put a banner below there at some stage. The producer's nodding away there.
So that'd be grateful. And what we're aiming to do, and this is the difference we've got with this specific genetic disorder, there is no treatment, and due to the severity of how rare it is, there's no medical history, there's no medical treatment. So at the moment, if we ask, look, what is the next step for Dusty? We can't give you a next step. You've just got to see how it goes. And unfortunately, her body will digest backwards from the inside, which is it's a time frame, it's a waiting frame. Option we've got at the moment, and some people might say, well, that's a bit of an experiment, but as a parent, do you sit and wait, or do you take form of action? And if you don't do anything, we're going to opt to do stem cell therapy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll take the cells from our children, from their bone marrow.
Yeah.
That'd be implanted into Dusty.
Hopefully to do what?
And what that should do is regenerate her cells within her body to try basically refreshing her.
Yeah.
Prolonging, removing any of the bad cells genetically.
Yeah.
As I said, it is a trial, and some people might say, do you want to take a trial? But then do you want a parent who sits there and wait and does nothing, and your daughter passes at 3, passes at 4, and you think, well, if I would have taken an option.
Yeah. So this, is, you know, for these really sad circumstances, Billy, it's changed your outlook on life a little bit, hasn't it? What's the positives you've taken out? There must be some after this tragedy, really.
Fantastic. Yeah. There's fantastic positives. It's, as a family, it made you closer. You realise you've got to help each other, which is core values, I would say. Yeah. You know, coming together, helping out. It's made me appreciate my children who get involved. You know, Dusty obviously can't be left alone. She could be, unfortunately, from the tube. She could be sick at any time. She can't turn her head. So obviously there's risk there. Yeah. So our children, seeing our children interact with Dusty, which is a disabled child, it's really nice for us to know that in the future that they can help others, which is, as a parent, is what you want to see.
Well,
you know,
must be wonderful.
There's a lot of negativity with children at this day and age.
Well, there is.
And from my personal perspective, it's a positive. Yeah. You know,
has it made you a better person, do you think?
It definitely makes you stronger. You know, there's no medicine to it. It's you laugh and you cry. Yeah. You know, and consistently keep doing that. I'm only assuming it's going to make you a little bit more tougher for when bad news comes, if it comes, that you're prepared.
It's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, you can't plan. As you spoke about, obviously I run a company, so I like to be structured and organised. I like to predict the future, do forecasts. This one, unfortunately, we just have to take on a day-by-day basis, which, as a business owner, it eats you up alone that. So
yeah, it sounds like you've got a wonderful family.
Yep.
2 great kids. I met your missus earlier.
Yep.
You've got lots of support there with your family as well.
Yep.
I would say, Billy, I want to be fair in that your family's very lucky to have you, and I'm very lucky to have you back on the show for the second time. So hopefully in a few months' time we can get you back on for a catch up.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
Billy Gunn. Thank you, Billy. Coming up next, we've got right versus left.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of weather to talk about this weekend. Saturday's another hot day for many, but not for all. And then comes the risk of some lively thunderstorms as fresher air arrives from the west. We've got high pressure still in control as we go into the weekend, but that's shifting east, allowing hot air to be drawn northwards across the UK. Certainly a warm night tonight, despite the clear skies. Temperatures widely holding up in the mid to high teens and in some spots no lower than 20 or 21 Celsius. Chances of some thicker cloud and some showers coming into the southwest by dawn. Otherwise, it's a dry and warm start to the weekend. Those temperatures are soon rising, particularly through the Midlands and eastern England. That's going to be where we'll see the highest temperatures through the day. Some cloud, some low cloud hugging the coast of eastern Scotland. But it's a relatively warm start wherever you are. Now, we do have some cloud arriving into Northern Ireland, and it's in Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of West Wales and the southwest where the first signs of a change are arriving. A chance of some showers coming through, but the main activity really is at the end of Saturday. Ahead of any showers, we keep the strong June sunshine at its strongest. On Saturday, the summer solstice, of course, and that will allow temperatures to rise widely into the high 20s, low 30s across eastern parts of the UK, and could be as high as 34 Celsius, depending on the timing of any cloud and showers arriving from the west. It's going to feel a bit fresher in the west, but still relatively humid. And then we've got these lively thunderstorms moving through overnight. North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England could see some absolute whoppers, causing all manner of impacts. And then on Sunday, the chance of some further heavy downpours into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Western England and Wales before all that clears away, and a changeable week next week, but feeling fresher.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's time for Right versus Left, and we've got Stephen Pound and Charlotte Griffiths. They're getting on really well, actually.
Yeah, up until now.
Until now. Hey, I tell you what though, Stephen, I am loving that suntan. I mean, I've been away. I'm not half as brown as what you are.
You've been in Mexico.
Don't tell everybody. They think I'm a poor MP. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Failing straight away.
Yeah, but you're on a fact-finding tour right here.
Listen, yeah, fact-finding. That was good, yeah. I was finding the bar most nights and finding the tequila. Yeah. That's very nice over there. Yeah. Serious matter, though. Yeah. Has Sir Keir Starmer, despite bleating on for the last year about smashing the gangs, has he lost control of our borders? As a seafaring man, Stephen, tell me.
OK, Lee, I think you've got to ask yourself, mate, when was the first time the borders of this country were secured?
I don't know about the first time, because we've been invaded a few times. Last time, well, after the war, Churchill secured our borders, didn't he? And the rest of Europe, for that fact.
Well, actually, that's completely untrue, because back in 1945, we had a thing called DP, displaced persons. And, you know,
I know about that. Yeah, I know about that.
The displaced persons, they came from all over Europe, and they came here, and there was no customs regulation. And don't forget, my dad used to say people show that their Auschwitz tattoo on their arm, and they just get taken straight through. Look, what we have here...
But these were genuine refugees, displaced people, asylum seekers. These were people in places like Latvia that had been dragged out their houses at age 15 and made to fight the Russians against their will. At the end of the war, they couldn't go anywhere else. They got killed. They either came here or the United States.
And a lot of them came to work in the pits, I have to say, in Sheffield and in Nottinghamshire. But look, let's just talk about today, what's happening today. At the present time, we have this ridiculous situation where somebody comes here, they get processed in 5 or 6 years. At the end of 5 or 6 years, they put down their family roots and they then have the right to stay. We've also got, abolishing the ECHR isn't going to help, but we've got to, as you read what Shabana Mahmood said yesterday, the Chancellor, we've got to actually have some different guidance. 2 child rapists from Brazil were not deported yesterday because their jails in Brazil are too full. That is absolutely barking.
Our jails are too full.
Well, exactly. Well spotted, Charlotte. But so look, here's the situation. We need to do what we do in Holland. People come here, they set foot on Dutch soil, they get processed there and then. If you're allowed in, start working, start paying taxes.
Stephen, before Charlotte comes in, because I'm sick of hearing this nonsense from you every time you come on the show. Because I tell you what,
at least I'm consistent.
Well, it's consistent nonsense. I'll give you that. But if we did that, what you're suggesting, 80% get granted asylum anyway. No, Steve, let me say, my show, and the other 20% that don't get granted asylum, they stay here anyway. So what's the point, Charlotte?
Well, the whole thing is completely farcical. I am looking forward to a change where the French are now going to be able to target boats or tackle boats 300 metres into the water. I think that will make a big difference.
Charlotte.
There
was an article in the paper this week where they was trying to catch a man on crutches.
I saw that in the mail.
Through the sea like that.
Seriously.
And they couldn't catch him.
They couldn't catch him, and then he got turned away by the boat, which, by the way, they are now calling taxis. I did say that. They're now calling them taxis. I did see that. But then he got in the next day. And the other thing that happened in the mail this week was they worked out that there are 4.1 going every 4.5 minutes in the air.
It's like Ryanair, isn't it?
It's like Ryanair. It's faster and more efficient than Ryanair.
More efficient than Ryanair.
Lee, can I just say...
Ryanair's not here to defend themselves, by the way. That's just for Ofcom.
Lee, the 80% figure you gave is absolutely correct. You're absolutely right. But the reason why 80% of those ones were approved is because after 5 years, they've got children, they've set down family roots. If we actually process people on day one, that would drop down to about 5 or 10%.
No, it wouldn't, because they tick every box, Stephen.
Well, I'm sorry, look at the other countries where they do that. Look what's happening in Sweden. Look at Denmark. Look at so many other countries where they process people there and then.
But their success rate for asylum seekers applying for asylum in those countries is much lower than the UK.
Exactly, because they process them at the...
It's got nothing to do with the time.
I'm sorry,
they can't even get them to come to not get on the boats. They can't process them at the time.
No, of course you can't. Let them come on the boat, by all means. Let them get on Dover Beach. But the point is, they set foot on Dover Beach. They do not get wafted and waved off to it.
Wafted and waved? drive.
And off to some accommodations. They get into Marston or
Stephen, after calling me down here, I think you spent far too much time in the allotment without a hat on. Charlotte.
Oh, God, I don't even know where I was now, but I do.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, speaking of the war, one of the French guards was interviewed this week and said, well, we can't just put a fence up. It's not like it's World War II. I was like, why can't you put a fence up?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you don't have to compare the World War II to what's going on now.
Well,
but
Donald Trump tried that.
Up.
It's just not possible. You can't build a wall around the country.
And the other excuse they made about walking into the water is they said, we're worried that our stab vests will
and our feet might get wet.
I'm worried that their guns might rust. But I have to say, why are they wearing a stab vest? Because these people are the kind of people that might stab you. Yeah. So I don't really want those getting on the boat.
Stephen, we're importing potential terrorists, sex offenders, rapists, murderers. And I know you said earlier that that's probably just 1% that's coming over.
That's 1%.
But if it saves one life by stopping these boats, it's got to be worth it.
But Lee, you could say that about the million passengers who come into Heathrow Airport. Entirely legitimately. How many of those people who come into Heathrow Airport entirely legitimately?
Yeah, but the thing is, Stephen,
a small percentage of them may be wrong.
No.
Yeah.
The people that come into Heathrow Airport have got a passport. We know who they are, where they've been, what they've been up to in the past.
Right, so it's that simple. So let's get ID cards in this country. The minute you set foot on Dover Beach, you get fingerprinted and you get given an ID card. We know who you are.
No, you get cleared off back to France. That's my suggestion. Yeah. Charlotte, come on.
Why do they have to get over to Dover for this to happen? Why can't they just not get on the boats in the first place? And then you've got the ID cards.
We don't have power there.
This is just more of what Keir Starmer's doing, which is finding lots of complicated ways to stop it. Whereas it's very simple. You just stop them getting off on a boat. That's all you have to do.
How?
What, you literally restrain them from getting on the boat.
So the British...
Oh, the other thing is you could not make it a wonderful place to live for an asylum seeker.
Okay, well, that's but you've changed your argument already. Well, you said about stop them getting on the boat. Are you saying that the British police or the British military should be on duty in Dieppe and in Calais on French soil, on the French beach? Come on.
Hey, Stephen, we're on duty in 1945, 1944 over there, weren't we? Something you taught in Europe about. My granddad would turn in his grave. But I'll tell you what, here's a suggestion. Yeah. When they come over on the boats, take them to your allotment and let them have a week with you in your allotment shed.
There'd be trouble.
Would you have that, Stephen? Would you do that?
No.
Would they want to do the sort of planting?
I'd get my dibber out.
Would they rather be on their phones?
How many of these people,
room?
Charlotte, coming over on small boats, these young men, I keep saying fighting age men.
Yeah.
How many?
It's a fair point, actually.
How many of those men, Stephen, if it kicked off again in Europe, and God forbid it don't, how many of these young men coming over on boats would put a British uniform on and go and fight for king and country?
Zero.
I do worry about that because if they've been living here for 5 minutes, where's their
loyalty, Stephen?
Yeah. Well, I think the loyalty is to themselves and their pockets.
Yeah, and their own countries.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, most of them aren't fleeing persecution, wars. They're coming here, they're economic migrants, their chances. And they're coming for a better life. They're coming to make money.
Lee, you're making a point about whether immigrants can actually fight. Some of the
I'm not talking about immigrants, Steve. Okay. I'm talking about illegal immigrants who are breaking into our country.
You're talking about people who have loyalty. Let me just tell you one thing. I'm from West London. Some of the bravest and most heroic fighter pilots in the last war were Poles and Czechs. And we owe a huge, huge debt.
What has that got to do with people going over the channel?
They weren't British, but they fought for Britain.
But they were culturally similar. You know.
What has that got to do with coming over the channel once more? But listen, we're going to go to the yes or no quiz. And just before we start, I'm just going to flash my T-shirt today. This is the Zoot. We had a chap on last week. Was it Jamie? Yeah, Jamie. It was on my show, did a great piece at the end. It was cut off. I'm furious because Donald Trump were up to his tricks again. Donald Trump's not here to defend himself. He might be one day.
How do you know he's not?
But Stephen, have you ever heard of the Zoots?
I've heard.
Wrong answer. It's a yes or a no. Charlotte.
I know what a Zoot is.
Oh, you've got it wrong as well. Oh dear, you could have.
Are we on yes or no?
It's a yes or no quiz.
You didn't blow the whistle.
So anyway, we'll start from scratch. I was trying to give you a hand up there, and Stephen's done you. Will Starmer smash the gangs, Stephen?
Yes.
No.
Should Stephen Pound house illegal migrants, Charlotte?
Yes.
No.
Proper socialist. Stephen, should we leave the ECHR?
No.
And Charlotte?
Yes.
Stephen, would you have, and forget about your age here, would you have voted for the assisted dying bill?
No.
No.
And Charlotte, will Angela Rayner be the Prime Minister before the next election?
Yes.
Ooh, Stephen.
No.
5-all. Disappointed in you, Charlotte, there, because I actually gave it on a plate there. He couldn't help himself, could he? He had to jump in, he had to leap in, as he always does. But you said, Charlotte, you think Angela Rayner will be the Prime Minister before the next election.
Well, I just think she's really gunning for it, isn't she? I know she goes on TV all the time saying she's very happy being the Deputy Prime Minister, but I just don't believe it. I think she'll take any chance she gets. And at this rate, Keir Starmer might be handing it to her on a plate.
But like a lot of football fans, I'm always a bit worried when the chairman of a football club says, I have complete and total confidence.
Yeah.
You know, they say, you're on your bike and breakfast time. But look, here's the thing. One of the reasons why I think she won't is because Keir Starmer is not like any other politician I've ever met. He's not a career politician. He does not want to do the job forever. He's a man who's...
He can't do the job. He can't do the job.
He's not doing a very good job.
Okay,
right.
He cannot be in post forever. And as far as I'm concerned, he's had a huge life, a big hinterland outside politics. I don't think he wants to go on forever.
Right, guys, that's it. It was 5-all. Sorry, Charlotte, very disappointing. I should have given you the heads up. I always try and stitch Steve.
You normally get me on the tie break, don't you?
But yeah, that's the end of the yes or no quiz. Charlotte, you're going back to work today and going to do some great stuff. He's back to the allotment. Goodness knows what he's going to be doing there.
Watering.
What he gets up to in that shed on his own. Coming up next, we've got comedian and impressionist Danny Posthill.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The hot air that we've got across the UK on Saturday extends into France and Spain, but the chance of thunderstorms in these areas as well. Also the chance of thundery showers through Greece, but the islands should escape with sunny spells, albeit with a keen breeze. Through Italy, we've got plenty of sunny skies, but the Alps will see some lively weather with showers and thunderstorms, and those showers also affecting parts of Spain. But Portugal seeing largely sunny skies and plenty of sunshine through the outlook period.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
That sounds like last orders at the bar. It is last orders. I've got comedian. In fact, it says here, Danny Postel, that's you, is undoubtedly one of the most promising British comedians around today. Have you written this?
I did, mate, yeah. Sorry.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, listen, I've seen some of your videos, mate, on YouTube. Absolutely hilarious. Your political, people like Trump, people like Diane Abbott, Boris impressions.
Yeah.
But you come from Hartlepool.
Yeah.
That's where they hang monkeys, allegedly, or they used to.
Yeah, and I've still got some rope left, so be careful.
OK, I'll be careful of that. But I've heard that Donald Trump's been sniffing around there. Is that correct?
Well, I'm going to actually have a holiday home in Hartlepool. It's going to be the greatest holiday home, the most incredible holiday home, because everyone knows, Lee, and Nigel, your good friend, he knows that I've got all the cards. Everyone knows I got all the cards, And in fact, when I spoke to Keir Starmer, we were talking about the Gaza Strip, and I am going to turn that into a paradise, by the way. It's going to be the most beautiful paradise. It's going to be incredible. We're going to have hotels, golf courses, but the main attraction is going to be the Trump Hotel, Mosque and Casino. Pray, play, stay. It's going to be incredible,
Is that okay for about? Is that okay before 9 o'clock, producer? He says that's okay. Seriously, mate, that's a great impact. What I noticed then, you're doing all the hand movements, but you're turning the body, but the feet never move, do they? That's a Trump trait.
Well, they don't. When you do Trump, you have to look like you're squeezing a ball. It's very important, When he goes further forward, he squeezes it tighter, and then he moves away. It's like a harmonica too, And I've got to say, Nigel Farage does the same, doesn't he?
He does.
He goes higher and like he's throwing an invisible ball into the air, I mean, what does he say? I don't want to be in Europe. Italy don't want to be in Europe. Hungary don't want to be in Europe. Manchester United simply have no choice.
Well, I'll go with that one because I'm a Forest supporter, as you well know. But, mate, great impressions. I would imagine that when you was a kid at school, you was mimicking your school teachers.
I used to do all the teachers. That's what sort of got me into it. And then my French teacher talked me into doing the school talent show. Yeah. But I didn't really want to do it because I wanted to be a footballer. And then I just thought, well, there's more longevity in comedy.
Plus, you were crap at football.
I was crap at football as well, yeah. You obviously saw me play. That's what I love about you, Lee. You're very straight talking, aren't you? I mean, obviously now with comedy, it's just getting more difficult. If you let it, I suppose, Because, I mean, there's certain places you go to. I went to America a couple of years ago. And have you been to Los Angeles?
No.
No, I wouldn't, to be honest. I would never go back. Yeah. I mean, I was going to move there, but I couldn't find a tent that I liked. You know what I mean? But I was actually at the bar. I was along Venice Beach, and there was this sign that was 2 cocktails for $20. So I went over. I was with my ex-wife. I said, "Hey, mate, can I have 2 margaritas, please?" And he just looks at me and he goes, "Mate." I said, "Sorry, is there a problem?" I said, "Because in England, that's a term of endearment."
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And he goes, "How dare you? How dare you assume my gender?" I thought, oh, here we go.
There we go.
He said, "I identify as non-binary." Yeah. I said, "Look, I didn't mean to upset you." I said, "Can I please just have 2 margaritas?" Anyway, he's gone away, he's made the drinks, he's come back and he's put them on the bar. He said, "They'll be $20. So I put $5 down. He said, "That's $5, that's not enough." I said, "No, but I identify as 20. That's how ridiculous it is, and that's how ridiculous it's getting with all this woke stuff.
So you've done Britain's Got Talent. You're doing the comedy circuit at the moment. You're doing gigs. Is it a one-man show you do?
I do a one-man show. I just gig everywhere, really. I mean, I'm not on tour per se, but like I say, I do the cruise ships, because like I say, on the cruises, you've got an international audience, so you've got to really look at your material. I mean, you get Americans are great, by the way. They come on the ship, they're like, "Hey, man, isn't this ship fantastic? Loving everything about it, man, the entertainment, the food, the hospitality." Yeah. Then you get the Australians, the Aussies are great, they're like, "Strength, mate, loving everything about the ship, the entertainment, the food, the tacker, the sailors." Then you get the English people who come on, "How much did you pay?"
That's true, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially when you're from Hartlepool as well.
Trying to outdo you, aren't they?
Of course they are, yeah.
But when you see somebody and you want to mimic them, how do you start? For example, Trump or Boris or
I think when you do somebody like Boris, I think one of the most important things is think about firstly the voice, the tone, the amount of times he says the before he gets into a sentence, and the fact that his arms are independent of him when he speaks. And looking at him, I think he could possibly be the worst darts player I have ever seen in my entire life.
Terrible darts player. But listen, Danny, this is flying by, this interview, by the way. We've got you behind the bar to pull a pint.
Yeah.
Got the glass there, the neck oil there, and
Yeah.
what I want to give you a challenge. You've got 30 seconds to pull the perfect pint.
How you're let everyone in Hartley pull down here.
Well, so grab the glass, my friend.
Yeah.
And while you're pulling it, I want to ask Diane Abbott a basic question. Is if Diane Abbott was here, I would say to her, how many half a pints are in a pint?
Okay. Okay, so the amount of halves that are in a pint are round about. Okay, what we need to understand when we are talking about a pint and half a pint is we need to make sure that we are trying to find a solution to the problem. And the problem that we have is when I am trying to pour a pint. What you have actually done, Lee, is you've asked me a question on numbers, and you know that I'm vulnerable with numbers. Therefore, you're a racist.
Okay. Well, you can pop that pint on the bar, please.
Oh, that's horrendous. Look at the state of that.
It's terrible.
Has anyone got a flake? That is
and you
horrendous.
didn't answer the question, did you?
Well, that's exactly how she answers them.
Yeah, it's like a politician's answer. So you've got any aspirations to get into politics, Danny?
Well, to be honest, people like you and Nigel are people who represent people like me, working class people.
Really?
You know, you do, absolutely.
I hope so, mate.
You know, and what I love about you, Lee, I've been working on you as well. And what I love about you, right, is I have my Lee Anderson moments. I was in Brighton the other week and I seen a sign which said vegan shoes. And I just thought, what a ridiculous sign, especially when having it with beans and chips. You know what I mean? And then I thought to myself, Lee, if you change yourself around a bit more, you're going to turn into Mick McCarthy, the football manager. You know?
No, that's a bit. I think he's Barnsley, isn't he? So
yeah.
So we're North Nottinghamshire, like
Nottingham, yeah.
between Nottingham, Derby, and Sheffield.
So it's getting the accent right as well within the impression, you know, before you start going.
Jim Davison tried it when he came up a few weeks back. He tried to get the accent. He didn't quite get it.
Well, Jim's one of my favourite ones. I do quite a bit for Jim. He's great, but sometimes I don't know what material to do as Jim. You know, because I might upset everybody, you know?
Well, he's been cancelled, hasn't he? He's been cancelled.
So many times, but he still sells out theatres. And you watch him, he's an incredible comic, you know? Along with Bobby Davro as well, because Bobby Davro gets offended if I don't mention him. He calls me Judas, because I always kind of about how good Jim is.
I once called Jim, hope he's not watching this, a pan shop Bobby Davro. He wasn't very happy.
Oh, really? Oh, Bobby, you'll love this then. Right, cut that bit.
No, he does some great work. You're right. I mean, he's been cancelled. I mean, Bobby Davro used to have a great show back in the 80s on TV.
People forget he was like the Ant and Dec of his time, you know?
It's a great minute.
I mean, Ant and Dec, they're just like, you know, they're the national treasure. Ant and Dec could do anything, and even if they weren't very good, people are
Well, they weren't very good.
Well, they could do. Well, they could be managers.
Not very good.
They could be managers of the England football team. They would turn it into a show, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
you know?
well.
That's right. So welcome back to the changing room, where we're about to pick the starting 11 for the World Cup qualifiers. So here we go. Joe Hart, it's not you.
Danny Postel, comedian, comic, genuine all-round nice guy.
Thank you,
hopefully,
Lee.
you're going to come up to Ashfield.
Definitely.
And do a gig for us.
I'll come and do a gig for you, definitely,
There you go,
mate.
Danny Postel.
Nice one.
3 out of 10.
That's for the pint, by the way.
Thanks for joining me on Lee Anderson's Real World. It's been one of my favourite shows so far, but coming up next is State of the Nation.
The past. We're going to be debating a controversial new column by thinker David Goodhart. Is it time to prescribe Palestine action? Nigel Farage says it is. We're going to be debating that in just a minute. We're also going to be looking at the latest bonkers borrowing figures in the UK. And a prominent Conservative has said Great Britain's greatest days are in the past. We've got a top panel to debate that very question tonight on State of the Nation.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of weather to talk about this weekend. Saturday's another hot day for many, but not for all. And then comes the risk of some lively thunderstorms as fresher air arrives from the west.
We've got high pressure still in control as we go into the weekend, but that's shifting east, allowing hot air to be drawn northwards across the UK. Certainly a warm night tonight, despite the clear skies. Temperatures widely holding up in the mid to high teens and in some spots no lower than 20 or 21 Celsius. Chances of some thicker cloud and some showers coming into the southwest by dawn. Otherwise, it's a dry and warm start to the weekend. Those temperatures are soon rising, particularly through the Midlands and eastern England. That's going to be where we'll see the highest temperatures through the day. Some cloud, some low cloud hugging the coast of eastern Scotland, but it's a relatively warm start wherever you are. Now, we do have some cloud arriving into Northern Ireland, and it's in Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, parts of West Wales and the southwest where the first signs of a change are arriving. A chance of some showers coming through, but the main activity really is at the end of Saturday. Ahead of any showers, we keep the strong June sunshine at its strongest on Saturday, the summer solstice, of course, and that will allow temperatures to rise widely into the high 20s, low 30s across eastern parts of the UK, and could be as high as 34 Celsius, depending on the timing of any cloud and showers arriving from the west. It's going to feel a bit fresher in the west, but still relatively humid, and then we've got these lively thunderstorms moving through overnight. North Wales, North Midlands, Northern England could see some absolute whoppers, causing all manner of impacts. And then on Sunday, the chance of some further heavy downpours into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Western England and Wales before all that clears away, and a changeable week next week, but feeling fresher.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 fearless debates.
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, you're watching State of the Nation tonight on GB News with me, Matt Goodwin. On tonight's show, after decades of mass immigration, our once great capital city seems to be a thing of the past. Is it too late to get London back? We're going to be getting the lowdown and the key stats from journalist, thinker and author David Goodhart. Palestine Action protesters have somehow managed to break into a high-security RAF base and vandalise military aircraft. But is the government right to make the anarchic protest group a prescribed terror organisation, as they did just an hour ago? We'll be debating that tonight. And the national cost of government borrowing in this country is soaring to eye-watering levels, with Rachel Reeves's economic policies threatening to tip us over a fiscal cliff. So is the Labour Chancellor running on borrowed time? We'll be debating with a top economist. And we'll debate how the Great Britain that many of us used to know and love could be restored to its former glory. But do modern-day politicians have the pride and the patriotism that's needed to get this project underway? We'll be debating a really big column in the newspapers this morning. That State of the Nation starts right now.